Art. It's defined as the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or their emotional power. By that definition, can there be any doubt that Allegiant Stadium is a work of art? It certainly required a lot of human creative skill and imagination, and its beauty and its emotional power will most definitely be appreciated for decades to come. But venture inside and you'll find a distinctive collection of art that's yet to be discovered. Until now. The Raiders, united with a team of tireless leaders from Nevada, are creating an ultra-modern, permanent stadium for the Raider Nation to call home. These are the stories of the people and the project, told from the ground up. In order to tell the complex histories of both the Raiders and Las Vegas, owner Mark Davis took a unique approach that would allow all attendees a chance to sample a bit of all the artwork and art installations around the building, regardless of where they're seated.
It's this really unique way to tie together both, the history of Las Vegas and what we are with the Raiders in a fun way to bring the community together.
What we were focusing on was very Raiders history. We thought we were gonna focus more on that, lots of silver and black. But then once we actually talked to MD, it kind of completely changed. He's like, everything that we do now is gonna give back to Vegas.
He knew that the Raiders would be in this facility for some of the events, but he knew that there were going to be many more events here. And because of that, he wanted the collection to kind of represent both Las Vegas and the Raiders. And he wanted them to come together and show off the entertainment side of Las Vegas for the other events here, as well as the Raiders. He also told us that he wanted this collection to be very closely tied with local Las Vegas artists. We started by reaching out to local artist Michael Godard. He's not only known here, but he's also known around the world for his art.
There was a rumor going around for a while that the Oakland Raiders might be moving to Las Vegas. And waited a little while, and then sure enough, it was happening. So I thought to myself, you know what, I'm going to just kind of keep an eye out, and I was watching everything. Any news about Raiders, I was, so excited. Is this gonna happen? And then when it did, I thought, my goodness, I need to be involved in this somehow, some way. We had a meeting, and 3 hours later, they were still, sane, because I tend to talk a lot.
We were like, hey, would you be willing to help us curate this collection? And he jumped at the opportunity to help out.
I was just super excited. Did not realize at all the scale, the magnitude of this. First and foremost, I had to get what the vision was for the stadium. And very clearly, it was two things. We want to tell visually the history of the Raiders and the history of Las Vegas as these two merged together.
So he hit the ground running, really, in this community. He did everything possible to find the best of the best artists in Las Vegas.
And as far as the talent level goes, for me, it wasn't about your resume. It wasn't about if you were in 100 galleries. It wasn't about if you'd only been painting for 1 year. What it boiled down to was, does this artist have something that can contribute to the stadium? And that's what I based it on.
These things here, it's just as tiny as it is. I mean, you could get a lot done just by doing this. And even something like this, because the length of this thing is so long, you can pretty much do this. I don't know if I'm partially autistic, but doing something like this, that's why I can do very intricate works like this. I don't know if it has something to do with, because the more I see or learn about how autistic people work, they're very focused on something and they won't let it go for a while. And it's just that's how I am when I get into a lot of these works. You can get to a really unusual point where when somebody else sees the finished product, they're thinking how in the hell is that even possible? Like that shouldn't be able to do that. The Las Vegas sign is kind of transparent over certain images. So here is like a gambling, hall back in the 30s or 40s. And this just kind of overlaps it, but you could kind of see things through it a little bit. Like in the beginning, I didn't know if it was really gonna work, but as soon as I started, like I loved these things and the acrylics. And from there, it felt really good. It felt very natural, and it feels like I'm just sketching instead of painting. And I actually like that a lot. It won't look like anything for a little while, but in the end, it's just gonna all come together. But for now, it's just gonna look like a big mess. Even if I'm 80, 90 years old, as long as I can still draw, I think I would still do it, even if it wasn't for work. I just like to do it.
When you walk into the stadium, you don't want to cater to a particular audience. You want to have something for everybody, young, old, nostalgic, non-nostalgic. So I feel, in my humble opinion, that I have gathered together the most talented pool of artists imaginable in Las Vegas, that the artists that are involved in this are going to not only be able to express the feeling of Las Vegas, the message of what Las Vegas is, but also the love of the Raiders team being here.
I chose this photo to work from. I love doing people, like this Blanda piece. I like taking one of these pieces and making it look better. Like, this is a great photograph, right? But something about taking a photograph and turning it to paint. You can kind of just see what he's thinking, you know what I mean? So right now, these are just the hard, the big shapes is what I have done right now. You can see my process to start with tape, and I covered the whole thing with tape. And then see the clothing, I did the jersey first. And you can see here, kind of just let the tape do the work for this number here. So I use the erasers. Basically what the airbrush becomes is like a big charcoal pencil. So another thing that happens with the paint, the reason I cut around, is it creates a hard silhouette of the art. So if you see any of these paintings, they were all done the same way, like this Sansa Stark, it's done the same way. So it creates that hard silhouette. And yeah, so there was no white paint used on her at all, just the white that's underneath, just erasing the dark. The hair is gonna be pretty much the next few hours of this piece. And then after I'm done with the hair, what I go do is I do detail on the face.
We put together kind of a list of guidelines of, here's some potential topics, here's some interesting things that you could do. Everything on there from, Elvis and the Rat Pack to, famous Las Vegas Raiders plays and famous alumni. And we wanted to see, what they could come up with. And so we kind of gave them a general topic, and then we let them do their thing.
I think she's almost there. We just need to work on her face a little bit. Her makeup's a little crazy right now. I submitted a piece that looked very similar to this, actually. It was of some cheerleaders. We were allowed to pick anything, and so I made some cheerleader poses in kind of a pop art style like this, and they loved it, so it was good. This is silver leaf. This is real silver. It was definitely the tightest deadline I've ever had. It was a week long, and I was like, oh my gosh. I wanted to do something that was very energetic. The girls are out there giving so much energy to the crowd and just fun. And, I really wanted when people to see this piece, they get that same sense of feeling of excitement when they see it. So I figured that pop art, lots of bright color, was perfect for that. I picked 4 different Raiderette outfits that I thought were all really nice and put them together. These two are sort of mimicking each other, and then these two are mimicking each other. Being a female athlete myself, I was like, I relate to these girls, This is my first time doing any kind of pop art. My work is very dark and very heavy, and so this is completely different from anything I do. I think I'll probably work in color for a little while after this, just to experiment and play, nice to change things up every once in a while. That was a nice thing about this project, is that we had freedom to choose whatever medium and style we wanted. So we didn't have to stick to our same, what we're used to. So that was really nice.
Obviously, we had art program, but we wanted to do a little more in some of the high traffic areas as well.
It's a huge undertaking, and we had to break down the different areas of the stadium based on what we kind of imagined in those spots. We broke it down into certain quadrants where it was like, okay, let's have this one focus on community. Let's have this one focus on the Raiders' history. Let's have this one focus on entertainment. And let's have this one focus on Las Vegas and the history of Las Vegas. And once we came up with that game plan, we were able to then bring this to life.
First thing I had to do, because there were so many different walls, hundreds and hundreds of walls, is we gave each wall a unique number. And that number is based on the level that it's on, the quad that it's in. We have particular walls that I start out with, and I call them preview walls. And those walls, as you enter into these hallways, when you enter into that wall, it sort of gives you a preview of what's to come. So for example, in this one here, we have Vegas Vic, and we have 4 playing cards that are some of the first casinos built in Vegas. Then when you get inside the hall, there are 2. There's Las Vegas history from its beginning all the way up until 1960. And after 1960, the opposing wall will be there. So we're going to tell this story visually through photographs, through pieces of art, and it's kind of a nice way to tie each one of it together.
When I first heard that the project was going to be Raider related, first thing I thought was everything's going to be black, white, and silver, right? Every piece of artwork is going to be. I even asked, like, what color is the wall? Oh, well, the wall is going to be black. I'm like, all right. What I try to do is make my brush work look like if it were stencil work. This is not meant to be like a tight image, a highly rendered piece. It's meant to be impressionistic and looked at from afar, and to create the feeling that there's movement. You know what I mean? And the dripping does make you feel like, okay, this was a painting done with feeling rather than just kind of sitting there and filling in the blanks. Well, I started doing this professionally in 2007, doing it for galleries, and then doing commissions. Try to make it as much in this street art aesthetic as I could. It was ingrained in me to like always want to make this, even though like as I was making art for galleries and stuff like that, it didn't always allow me to express this kind of style. This was the perfect opportunity to create something that locals or people that come to visit and stuff like that can see it,
This right here that we're looking at is the main concourse. This is where everyone comes in. As you move up to the suite level, all these pieces of art are literally right next to each other. And so again, following that, we really want everyone to see everything. What I did was I created a kind of a crazy algorithm that has a little bit of history, a little bit of Raiders, a little bit of actions that take place, and created this sort of crazy map so that as you're walking along the suites, you're seeing the main story, which is a combination of all 4 of these. I had talked about the algorithm just a little bit and creating something that was a person, place, and a thing, and then hitting all the themes. What you see down here is sort of like a legend that was created so that we know if there's a green image right here, I can look down here and I can say, oh, that painting is being done by Trevor Stickle. He is doing Liberace at the piano. Now, because it's green and this is the size, and the suites are all different sizes, I know wherever you see the green paintings that are in here, that is all the same size images. This was very instrumental also in planning out the framing, because at this point, we took each wall, we came up with a calculation that would give us the perfect size framing to fit in that particular space and that suite, and every suite being different dimensions, we could lay something out, figure out the framing as well.
But it was like either 1983 or 84. So the Raiders they didn't have an official stadium at the time. They had to practice at a school, and it was right down the street as well from my elementary school. So we used to see players like Marcus Allen, Lyle Alzado, like all of those guys, Howie Long, I think it's Howie Long as well. And they used to come to the elementary school and give away their team roster posters. And I remember going to the little market that was down the street from our babysitter's house. My brother and I would stop and look through the blacked out tarps to see these guys practice. And it was like the coolest thing. So yeah, Raiders is just something that's, I don't know, I feel like I had this like history with them. And it's kind of ironic because their practice facility, which I'm painting, is like down the street from where I live. Life is just like so 360. I'm happy really just capturing stories in life. So whether it's good things or bad things, just telling a story with an image that people can learn from and also get inspiration from. And that's what I'm known for. So everything like flowers going through various struggles in life and just coming up with an image of, you know, like a flower who survived an oil slick, for example, and being proud of those actual scars in life. And now it's a beautiful flower covered in oil. I was that kid who never got picked on the sports teams. I would sit on the benches, and I was like, what do I do now? And that's kind of where it started. So I'd watch all my other friends play basketball, football, things like that. This is basically, all right, it's all about the practice facility and bringing a Henderson setting to it and hinting Vegas in the back. So this one has more of like, all right, I'm gonna come with a different approach on this. The whole idea is to show off a large player and the city of Las Vegas, but also have some practice sort of activities grounded in this piece. So in this one, there was going to be like hints of the city back there, practice facility right here. There's the light burst. This is what they were sold on originally, this one right here, which was number 3. But then it was like, all right, we need the gold that you had, and I had to rebalance it because it felt very just empty up here. And then with introducing these field lines here that'll burst out and centralize this main focal point right here. I love working on this. I'm gonna be very sad actually when it's complete. I don't wanna stop working on it. I'm having so much fun actually.
Every artist has a unique vision they bring to their work in the stadium. But if there is one artist who bridges the worlds of football and art the best, it would have to be former Raiders quarterback, Todd Marinovich.
Back to pass Marinovich and a deep drop, throwing way across the field and a battle. It is caught at the 50-yard line, racing down.
Todd's story is well documented. But today, Todd has traded in his cleats and helmet for a paintbrush and a palette.
It was my great-grandmother, actually, my dad's grandmother, who gave me my first oil painting class when I was like 9. So it was always I was just drawn to it from the gate. I was grieving the death of my best friend, and it was I had never experienced pain like that, and I couldn't paint. And so what brought me out and allowed me to paint was painting all of my best friend Marco's favorite artists, and Nick Cave was the first one I did. And that's why it's hanging on my wall, and I'll never let go of that one, yeah. It's hard to explain, but if I can take me out of it and kind of tap into a flow or a rhythm, I'm just along for the ride. And I think that's when the magic happens. So finding something, a passion like that, I'm just grateful that I have something that I can lose hours and days in and just immersed in, yeah. Being a quarterback and playing a team sport is not like it is being a painter, and most of your work you're doing you're alone, so that there's no similarity there. But There's rhythm for me as a painter, just like as a quarterback. If I'm in rhythm, look out. But if I'm out of rhythm, I'm not going to be effective, so don't trip. And it's the same way with painting. I can feel it. And you asked about my color palette. I really just feel what works and what doesn't. And I'm just experimenting with every painting, with colors, seeing if they work, and if they don't, they don't. And I'm not worried about making mistakes, because that's no way to play or live or paint. I found the more I paint, the mistakes really are the best part. If I can allow them to happen and not be so rigid. And I was only going to do one, and it was the Sammy was the first one they asked me to do. And they liked it, so I did 3 more. Yeah, so that's always a good sign.
We pre-built the frames, sized everything, so because it had to make sense. The space is so large. The stadium is hundreds of thousands of square feet. And framing alone, there's over 56,000 square feet of framing.
To make it even more interesting, we did all this during a pandemic. And with these artists, what happened was a lot of stores closed down, right? So we got a lot of them on board. They were excited. They wanted to help out, but they couldn't access supplies. They couldn't access canvases. They couldn't access, what they needed to create these pieces. So we actually stepped in behind the scenes, and we helped supply them with canvas, supply them with what they needed. If they didn't have it themselves, we were able to help them out and get them those supplies.
There's well over 500,000 square feet of wall space. We literally have 400 walls that need art on them. And part of the process then becomes staging everything, because when we go to actually print everything out, that's only one side of it. It starts with the artist creating the painting. You move on from there to making sure that we have framing for it, that it's the subject that we want, all that sort of stuff. But then we still have a whole nother process, which is getting it actually installed in the stadium. And that takes quite a bit and takes up quite a bit of space.
With over 70 local artists commissioned, this project has made a huge impact on the Las Vegas art community. But at its heart, that's what the Raiders organization is all about: community.
I couldn't be more proud of this collection. I couldn't be more proud of how it's all turned out. And there's something so special about it, I kind of get goosebumps. You walk through the hallways, you turn a corner, you see something you may not have seen before, and it just makes you so happy. And it makes me happy to know that fans are going to come through this building and have that experience, and this is just the beginning. It's an art collection. I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Perhaps to view the best art of all, one need only gaze upon the Neon City, framed by the open lanai doors. With that iconic torch, we offer a beacon of hope for the future, for a city and a team in their journey together. At 95 feet tall, its size makes quite a statement about pride and poise and a commitment to excellence. But most importantly, it makes a promise that the fire that burns the
brightest here is the will to win, but the greatness
of the Raiders is in its future.
Artists offer their unique vision for the future, and Mark Davis offers his clear and concise vision for the stadium and the Raiders. And in the halls and walls of this building, the two meet in a most extraordinary way. It's been inspiring, documenting the journey of this organization. As in a mere 31 months, they completed what seemed at first to be impossible. We've been part of some remarkable construction firsts. We've celebrated successes, and we've grieved losses. There have been highs, and there have been lows. And some experiences we could have never imagined in a lifetime. But most of all, we've been privileged to have a front row seat as some incredible people did some truly jaw-dropping work to finish this modern sculpture, this work of art, on time, on budget, and most importantly, safely. Thanks for joining us on this journey. We appreciate you spending your valuable time with us. For now, it's goodbye. But one day, we hope you'll make your own journey to come visit us at our new home. We'll be right here, waiting for you.